Michael, thank you so much for being here today. Can you just introduce yourself and let everyone know a bit of your story, how you got to where you are today?
Oh, geez, we want to go that far back. No, well, I've always been a constitutionalist, not a mad one, but enough where local, my close friends used to think that I was talking nonsense and stuff like that until COVID. COVID really woke a lot of people up. Unfortunately, not enough, but there is a lot of people already awake, even though they don't want to admit it publicly. They're closet wakers. And because of that, and because of my own personal experience, I've been helping people. And now I'm on call, basically. My phone doesn't stop. I was with Facebook and everything like that. That's where I came across some of your stuff. And I thought, whoa, what a great gal. Wifey material. And I thought, oh, well, I'll make my opinions known, what I know, because I did a lot of research on this stuff. And I knew just before it all started, I knew it was all BS. So I started telling my friends and family and my friends in Facebook. And then I started getting the bit of negativity and all that. And then some of them reported me to Facebook. So I had to open up alias accounts because they kept shutting my other accounts down. And then it got to the point where they were blocking me for 3 months. They put me in Facebook prison for 3 months at a time on all my accounts. And the funny thing is, as soon as it expired and I went, oh, beauty, I can get back on, they banned me again. I didn't even say a word. I didn't even make a comment. They banned me again for another 3 months. I thought, how am I going to get my message out there? And I thought, I come across Telegram. It was encrypted. And I thought, you're beauty. So I started my own chat there. And now it's about 2 years, 2.5 years now I've been running. And without fault, I even had Telegram warning me. Wow. So it must have been pretty bad. I must be pushing the right buttons.
Yeah.
But I've managed to navigate around that. And I had a few ferals join up. So I've flicked them. And it was through just experience, testing and measuring. And I thought, oh, well, where it is today, it's an education place. You go there to learn how to. It's not a debate channel. It's not there to discuss about stuff. The talking's finished. We all have to start acting. We have to do it. Forget the talking. It doesn't matter what group you're in there. They always talk. We've got to educate the masses. You're wasting your time. It'll take you another 100 years to educate them. The way that I've learned is by doing. And if I do it and I'm successful and I show other people how it's done, then I'm getting more and more like me out there doing what I'm doing, and it's just growing like a virus. But I do, in the interim, I've been connected with many talented people, very highly skill set, much better than mine. And I'm learning off them, they're learning off me. So we're sharing ideas, we're creating programs like the Bill of Exchange. Rick really was the who established the bills of exchange in LIP. He did it his way. I'm a headbanger. I don't kiss butt, or I'm not, I would say, peaceful about things. I tell it as it is. And I thought, oh, well, there's got to be another way to do it, because it was just talk, back and forth with notices. And I ain't got the time for that stuff. If I submit a BOE, I expect them to do their bloody job and get a bloody discharge. And there's no more letters saying we don't accept that method. That's crap. It's like with your fines. If you do a BOE on a fine and you send it back to them, it's done. It's finished. As far as I'm concerned, it's been discharged. There should be no more reply letters saying, oh, we don't accept that method of payment crap. Everything I do is by the law. Everything they're doing is they're breaking the law, and they're trying to pass it off like they got some sort of immunity. And that's LIP. But I do have, since then, outside of LIP, there is the Royal Registry De Jure. There is my own lipforms.com, where instead of templates and editing templates and stuff, because a lot of people do mistakes, I've now online formed it. So you only fill in the bits of information you need, and it automatically, when you hit submit, it actually creates the actual form with all your information in it. So I'm simplifying things. So right now I have retired judges and barristers and lawyers actually helping me.
That's amazing. Just for those who haven't heard of LIP, it stands for living in private.
Live in private, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's like a platform that you've created, a website, webpage, and it's all on Telegram, which you've got separate little sections on there, which is so useful and simplified, as you stated, because this stuff can get really overwhelming and confusing and intense for people. So what you've done is really helped to classify it all and break it all down and make it pretty much foolproof in a way.
There was over the years, I've built up a whole library of template letters. I used them myself, and then I just saved them and created template letters out of them and shared them with my friends and family, you know. But over time now, LIP, as it started off as a one channel, but inside that channel is different chats or forums, whatever you want to call them, you know, and they're all specific to a specific subject matter. So one could be for about counsel. So any counsel matters you have, you go there. And if you look in the files, there are template letters specific to use when you want to communicate or correspond with the counsel. And the same with court and police. That's another one. ATO, UCC, Magna Carta. There's a couple of chats there in honour of like Dick Yardley. Dick Yardley's got all his documents all in that one chat. It's like a library of Dick, you know. And then there's some other things. Dr. John Wilson, he's got his own Juries Are Us. He's got his own chat in there. It's a library. It's a resource for anyone who needs to go to. LIP has been attacked twice by some very evil people. I've had chats disappear and all sorts of stuff. So they have been gaining access in there. And so I've had to be very careful, and I've had to privatize the chat. So you can only go in if you're invited by another member. And the rule is, if they're like-minded, let them in. We need them. If they're a mum and dad or a sibling who don't believe in what you're doing and you're trying to educate them, don't invite them in there, because they're inviting their idiot friends. And it only takes one idiot friend to destroy the whole bloody thing, yeah. But the one rule with LIP is be peaceful, be respectful to the other members. You don't debate. You can share information. You can discuss information, but it's not a debate, and we don't curse each other either. So the moment you show any sign or language like that, my 30 admins will delete and block you. Rarely do you have a chance to come back unless you apologise. It's all about reaching the age of majority. We're putting that into practice. You're either an adult, because we don't want adult children in them.
I love that. That's awesome. So you mentioned as well, because I know a lot of people might not know what a BOE is. So it's a bill of exchange. Can you just explain what that might be for those who don't really understand? Because I find that, you know, writing letters back and forth and nothing really happening is a really big issue. So you bringing that up is really important. So can you clarify?
Okay. Back in 1966 in Australia, they removed the pound sterling. The pound sterling was a silver currency, a silver-based backed currency, or silver or gold backed currency. The moment they removed that, all we have left is to discharge debt, not pay debt. We can't pay debt. No one can pay debt in this country. It's impossible. You can't even pay debt in America, Canada, any other Commonwealth country, basically. The whole economy is based on bills of exchange and promissory notes. To give you an example what a promissory note is, every note in your pocket, every coin in your pocket is a promissory note. It's not real currency. There's no security behind it. They made it up. It's like a check. You know, you're back in the old days, you wrote a check out and you handed it to the biller, whoever billed you, you give them the check as payment. That's a form of currency. That's the only currency this country actually has. And that check, the receiver would then go to the bank and bank it, right? So it's credited to their account. But then that check is in the holder of the bank. The bank then goes to the other bank who printed that check for you, and they go to the other bank and say, well, there's $200 marked on this check. We need you to give us that $200 so our customer's bank account is balanced. That's what they call a promissory note. That's what they call bills of exchange. It's an IOU, and we're handing to each other IOUs. That's as simple as it gets. There is no money. You can't pay. When they say to you, you have to pay this, well, how the hell can you pay anything? There's no cash to pay. What you're doing is you're using a bill of exchange or a promissory note. You're promising to discharge, and that comes from your SESQV trust, because every bill is your trust account name. It's not you. It's linked to your SESQV trust. So if you're paying out of your pocket for something that is addressed to your capital name, your surname specifically, your surname, then you're shortchanging yourself. You shouldn't be paying it out of your pocket, because it's already been drawn by the biller. It's already drawn that money from the SESQV trust, and it's on hold until you, the beneficiary of that trust, puts a signature on that bill. And when you return that bill, now they can go in and balance the account, because that's all it is. It's balancing in the account. There is no cash changing hands. Like when you take out a mortgage, there's no cash changing hands. It's promissory. An IOU goes from one to the next. And you're the creditor. If you're the creditor of that money, you're lending yourself your own money and you're paying interest on it. The bank's just a broker. They don't use money. There's no money. It's all notes. Yeah. So I hope it was clear enough.
Yeah, that was really simple. Thank you for explaining that. I think a lot of people will be pretty amazed about that. The fact that, their trust can be paying for things, but they don't realize that. And I saw that in the chat, you had testimonials of people actually sharing their success with doing BOEs. And
we've had a lot more than you believe. If you've been to court and found guilty, it's not a big deal. Just go down to the court office, ask for the court costs. Don't wait for them to be posted. But if you do go home, it doesn't matter if they're posted to you or whatever. That's a contract offer to pay. All you do is you do a BOE on it, take it back to the court, hand it over the counter, and they accept them. They don't argue about it. They're done. It's wiped, because it's your straw man. Your straw man's getting built. You got to stop living the life of your straw. He's the biggest a-hole in your life. Throw him under the bus. Don't go to court and defend the bloody mongrel. He's the biggest thorn in your butt your whole life. Why defend the honour of a fiction? You're supposed to be the administrator of that trust. You are the beneficiary. You're not the trustee. They're the trustee. They pay, or they're instructed to take from the trust. But if they can't join to you and they summon you to court, that's false claim. They have to pay, not you. Unless, you say, oh, well, you make a statement after you establish yourself as the beneficiary, and you go, however, the administrator that was summoned here today, he is a knucklehead and he pleads guilty. I didn't plead guilty. I'm the beneficiary. He plead guilty, and as a beneficiary, I forgive him. Now you've turned it from a criminal court or a traffic court or whatever they bloody want to call it. They're making the shit up anyway. Now you're in a boardroom discussing the trust as administrators of the trust. And the beauty is, I'm the beneficiary. I'm the only one in that whole room that's got no liability. I don't have to pay a damn thing. I'm not the surety. They have to fight out who's going to pay, the prosecutor or the judge. And this is why the judges always call in Section 76 of the Sentencing Act. It's their way to get out of paying the bill. They have no problem forcing you to pay it. But when they get trapped, they use that thing. And that's what you're going into court for. You want them to use that. You want to put them in a corner so they come out and use that, which means you walk free. You walk away free, no fines, no forfeitures, nothing on your record, nothing. It's all about the money. Give them the money. It's not yours.
It is so important that we know our status. And when I first came across this information, it blew my mind. And I thought everyone needs to know this, because we're just being treated as, you know, slaves and debtors, and we have no idea. So I did put out quite a bit of content about, you know, being the beneficiary and the trustee and taking in charge of your status, you know, identifying as administrator, the beneficiary. So yeah, all of that is right down my alley. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to like delve into that, learn more about that. Do you offer courses or something for those who want to learn more and empower themselves?
There is a course on offer, and that is How to Win in Court. It's actually American. It's an American course. I've done the course myself, and I found it brilliant, because you don't have to be you don't have to have high IQ. You can come from the streets and study it. It's done in simple, basic English. It is American, but the information is the same here. It's the same principles, the whole lot. There's no different. It's just that an American created an actual course, and I thought, well, why create my own when there's one already there? And I have links of that in LIP. The other thing is, I've always been one to try and use the KISS principle, you know, keep it simple. And I know the majority of mum and dads out there wouldn't even know where to start, would have a hard time getting their head around it, because they've all been indoctrinized into the GovCorp Rothschild system, into doing as they're told instead of thinking for themselves. And I thought, what's the simplest way we can do it? And this is where I associated myself and got involved with the Royal Registry De Jure. The Royal Registry De Jure allows people to register and then don't have to do anything more. You're out of the system. There's a litigation department behind it, and that does all the fighting for you. The moment GovCorp interfere with you in any way, shape or form, the litigation kicks in, the litigation department kicks in, and we just sue them. So it's not, we don't defend. So they don't come to us, our members don't come to us say, oh, they've been arrested and I need to fight. No. We guide you through the process, and then afterwards we sit down with you and we do a statement of claim, civil claim for damages under trespass, and then we submit a claim for damages. And that's how we do it. We do litigation. We don't do defending, because everything they do is actually bull. It's all crap. You don't have to consent to it. Yeah.
What sort of cases or scenarios would you recommend for that particular?
Any involvement with police, that's a good start, because in New South Wales, I refer a lot of LIP members to a particular lawyer who, well, actually there's two lawyers, but one particularly, he's had to employ more lawyers. He's inundated with so much work, and that's all he does is sue cops. He doesn't do anything else. He just sues cops, and he's, I believe, last month he hired an extra 2 lawyers to go. They're offering terrific business. And the reason we can do that is if everyone actually read the Crown's Proceedings Act, 1958, Section 23, they're not police. They have no immunity. They're not even protected under the Crown. They're nobody. They're corporate entities. They're not Commonwealth entities. So they're not police. They can behave like police. They're armed like police. They're fully armed, which is really a militia, an armed militia by the state government, which is not supposed to have their own militia, by the way. That's a Commonwealth thing, not a state thing. But yeah, it's every time they open their mouth, it's a lawsuit. There is case law precedent. 2 of them, the most famous ones, is the Regina versus Banner and the New South Wales Police versus Hamilton. Between those 2 cases alone, cops can't touch you or even talk to you. They can't stop you. An RBT on the road, oh, you're being pulled over or stopped for an RBT. It's nonsense, absolute nonsense. You can sue them for that. Yeah. They interfere. If they trespass on your body, property, or your freedom, that virtually covers every aspect of your life. If they even interfere with any one of those things, it's a suit. It's a lawsuit. And you win. You win every time. And it's using common law in the Supreme Court.
It's interesting because when you do think about it from a logical perspective, you have these men walking around with this presumed authority with weapons, raising revenue for the government. And, they can just, at a whim, just pick up their little booklet and give you a fine or give you like a court notice or court order. And you're having to defend yourself before anything's even been proven that you've done anything wrong. And it's just so backwards how things are operating in today's day and age. I know a friend of mine who an undercover police saw him drive a bit fast, and then the police rocked up at his house and said, here's the court orders. And he's like, what, just because someone saw my car go a little bit fast, I have to go to court now? Where's the evidence? But that's the power that they presume they have.
That's the sad part of our life at the moment. The straw man entity, which apparently we're all labelled, we're guilty until proven innocent from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed. And even sometimes while we're asleep, they come bashing on our door. So you can't get away with it. That's enslavement. That's pure enslavement. And they're behaving like with tyranny. So you can call them out, but who's going to argue with an imbecile with a gun? You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. I see a lot of these videos where people, they have a little gap in the window and they're trying to communicate. Don't do that. Get out of the car, right? Even if you take the key or something, or somebody's in the car, get out of the car and lock the car, right? And then talk to them outside so they don't do any damage or don't have a reason to stick their head in there and start smelling things. Oh, I think I smell marijuana, mate. I think I might have to search you. Don't give them an excuse for anything. And then always, how can I help you? What was the emergency? Because they normally start with the lights and the siren to pull you over. That's actually illegal. That's a fray. That's a charge of a fray. He's already committed a crime before he even comes to your car door. Mm. And then when he does and he starts his nonsense, I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. What crime did I commit? I don't answer questions. That's all that's got to come out of your mouth. And just point to the rego plate. Everything you need to know is on the rego plate on the rear. Go knock yourself out. Otherwise, stop trespassing on me. Use the word, stop trespassing on me. And if they open up their mouth and say, if you don't give me ID, I'll arrest you, that's a threat. That's extortion. Right? That's breaking the law. They're breaking the law, behaving that way. It's exceeding their limitations in their conduct and policy. That's basically what it is. So they're no longer a policeman. They're a threat. And under the self-defense laws, you can actually defend yourself. There's case law where a cop was shot by a farmer because he refused to get off the property. So as the cop was approaching him, being in his bully way, the farmer shot him. So there's case law that says you can defend yourself, and it doesn't matter if it's defending against a cop, because you've got to remember they're employees of a corporation. They're not, they got no grant of authority or a warrant from the Crown. And when they talk about Crown, it's their imbecile Crown. It's got nothing to do with our Crown of England.
And that's the thing, like in the last few years, we've seen a lot of authority figures and police pushing a lot of their power and harming civilians, with the protests and whatnot. We saw some horrendous stuff. So I really feel that we, as basic knowledge, should know our rights and how we can deal with these people. And like, I don't have anything against the police in general, but when they're trying to extort people and raise revenue and intimidating others, and we do need in society a means for keeping people accountable for crimes and whatnot. But when it's other things that don't involve that and it's intimidation or whatnot, that's when we need to let them know, we know what you're doing and you're overstepping what you actually intended for in society. It should be common knowledge. Obviously, they won't teach us this in school. Everyone should really learn this information, because you never know when you will be on the receiving end and when you need to put that person in their place for, going on a power trip and stepping over the line.
The Privacy Act is an important document everyone should read. It does have plenty in there to protect you from them. They use it every day. If you if you ever notice a police badge when they pull you over and talk to you, it's always an initial and then their surname in capitals. So that's a dead entity you're talking to. So I'm a live entity. I've got nothing to do with you. I've got no business with you. Go away. Leave me alone. You're trespassing. That's how I talk to them. Don't talk to me. I didn't invite you to have a conversation with me. Go away. You're trespassing. Leave me alone. Stop harassing me. If they hold you, you call out what it is. Are you detaining me? So you're imprisoning me. You're restricting my right to enjoy free movement. That's trespass, pal. What are you doing? Don't you know the law? This is how you can overcome this shit. This is how you educate, I suppose, because they are, as far as law is concerned, the police are the imbeciles of law because they don't know any. They go to recruit school, they have a psychological test, and they only employ narcissists, people with no empathy. That's the mentality of the police we have. If you show that trait, they'll love you in the police force because they need bullies. That's all they need is bullies. And when they teach them then to work around the law, you know, if you got somebody like us who's a conspiracy theorist or something like that, this is what you've got to say and do. They're trained to avoid implementing the law. What they're trained to do is to abuse the system or blue the law, say they get us through their court system and let the judges deal with it, you know. And that's how it is. There's 5,000 court cases in New South Wales alone every day. That's harm and damage to the population because those courts are illegal. They're not even constitutionally recognised. They have no power unless you consent. And
you did mention you're working with a lot of retired magistrates and judges.
Yeah, we get a lot of insight into the system.
Yeah. So what made them want to help out? Do they know about the fraud, or is this something that they discovered upon retirement? I'm genuinely curious about this.
They all know.
Wow.
That's how they make their business. If you ever taken a lawyer on, you can see the gameplay in front of you. For most people, they probably don't see it, but you and I would. We know exactly just by listening to the words they're using. We know, you scumbag, you've thrown me under the bus. You're one of them. You're negotiating so that you get a cut from the trust, and you couldn't give a shit if I was going to jail or not. You know, that's how they play the game. And I recommend everyone, if they got a day off or something like that, for God's sake, go to the local court and sit there. I guarantee you within 3-4 hours of listening to the cases going through there, you'll start to learn very quickly there's something wrong with the system. Very wrong. Because they're not hiding it. That's the amazing thing. They're not hiding this fraud and scam that they're running. It's real obvious, but you know.
It is, yeah. With my interactions and experiences in the courtroom, it's very interesting because it's like we're having another conversation and everyone's looking around like a bit confused. But even it seems like the lawyers don't even know what's going on, but they're just taught to do things like that, and I don't think they really. I mean, maybe some of them.
They don't.
Yeah.
They don't know. I was in court once for someone else, and I was sitting there on the front bench. And I had the prosecutors the side, two young fellas, you know, look, one was looking at his computer and the other one's looking at paperwork and stuff, and we're waiting for my mate to come out. And I was sitting there and they assumed I was a lawyer for him. So I'm sitting there and we had the courthouse packed with us warriors. And they were surprised to see that many people in a courtroom at once. You know, they thought, oh, who are you here for? You know, we didn't tell them, of course. And then they started talking to me and they asked me if I'm the representing so-and-so. And I said, well, only if he wants to. I'm just here as a friend, you know, and I had stuff in there. Anyway, the judge took his time coming out, and I'm sure he was watching on the camera. He was sitting in the back to see what was going on because that's what they do, they spy. Anyway, these two young boys, I brought all the paperwork with me, the Crimes Act 1914. I had sections of the Constitution. I had the little pocket-sized book you can get for free from the federal member's office. You go to your federal member and ask for the pocket-sized Constitution book. I had that. And So I was sitting there and I was just showing them some of the stuff, and they started getting really interested in it. And one was looking in the book, and the other one's looking through on the computer, looking up these acts and sections of acts that I was doing. They were amazed. They'd never seen the stuff before. And one of them came around to me, just opened the book and asked me what it was. And it was the section that talked about the separation of power. That means you got no power here, mate. It means all of you are sitting in treason. And there was sections in there, section 109, section 92, and a few things that I pointed out to them. Have a quick read of this before the judge comes out, and they're dumbfounded. I showed them the evidence enough to say, well, this guy's they really don't have a case. As prosecution, they can't do anything with this one. They still went ahead. We did it, though, didn't they? They get told to do what they're supposed to do, sort of thing. It's all. I had conversations with sheriffs last year. Twice in court, I arrested the judge. Technical, of course. I couldn't physically do it because the sheriffs escorted me out the building. But it's on the record. You have fun.
Yeah,
it's a circus. They're a bloody circus, and they're all clowns. Don't get serious. All I advise my members who I coach when they got their court cases is stop waffling. Just one-liners. Only speak when it's necessary, and don't acknowledge them. Don't answer questions. The judges seem to be doing all the court business for the prosecution. So you object to that stuff and say, excuse me, are you the prosecutor? Because it sounds like you're acting like one. Just tell it from the top. What is wrong? What you see and hear is wrong. Speak up, because the only power you got in there is that court record. If it's not recorded what you say, you never said it. And all they hear is these idiots talking.
I'm finding a lot of people who are well equipped with this information are going to court, but the judge is still pretending. How can you get around that? And is there a way to hold them accountable?
Ignore it. He has to, from the minute he clocks in as a judge to the minute he clocks off. The guilt's on him. He's guilty, right? He knows, with his knowledge of guilt, he knows 24/7 he is guilty. What he needs is a guilty verdict so he can pass his guilt off and give it to you. And he has to do that. Otherwise, he's in trouble because he's guilty. You're innocent. But he needs to reverse that. So once he's found you guilty, I can breathe easy now. They can't touch me. I'm immune. That's how their attitude is. That's what they think. And that's purely the basis of it. Because if they can't find you guilty, they pay the debt.
From their trust?
No. Oh, yeah, from their trust or from their pocket. From their pocket. I mean, they earn a commission on everything they do. It comes out of your trust. And they don't pay tax on it. It's tax-free. They're just making claim. It's all about the money. It's got nothing to do, you're in the court today, you've been summoned because you did 10 Ks over the speed limit, or you didn't stop, you crept forward instead of stopping when the stop sign. They're just matters. They're just excuses to get you in the court there because they're after the money and they want you to pay out of pocket. You never, ever have to pay anything out of pocket. It's already prepaid through bills of exchange and promissory note. It's all prepaid, but they don't want you learning this. They don't want you knowing this.
You going to court and admitting that is consenting to that payment.
There is a different language in court. There is how you speak to your family and that. We talk common English, you want to call it that. That same language in a court environment, it's not meaning the same. They have definitions of words that we use every day as normal words, English words. They put a different language, a different definition on it. So when you say, for example, do you like apples sort of thing, which is a good example I heard from Native Nation. Do you like apples? If I ask you, do you like apples? What's the first thing that comes to your head? Do you like apples?
Yeah, they're all right.
Yeah. What do you like about them?
They're sweet and they're crunchy.
That I wasn't talking about the fruit. I was talking about the computer.
Ah.
You see, that's how the courts hear you. This is why they ignore you. Their language is different. It's different to ours. Even though they might use the same word, the definition of that word, it's not the same as yours. So if you're talking normal English, they're not hearing normal English. They're hearing Black's Law Dictionary English. That's why you have to be very, when you speak in court, you have to be very specific and detailed. So like when they call your name sort of thing, is Mr. Michael Rolf Schultz here? Well, you say, I'm here on that matter. I have an interest in that matter. You don't say, yeah, I'm here. If you say I'm here, you're it. You're done. You're the straw man, right? So you're here, and you give them the opportunity to ask, okay, so what interest is that? Well, I'm the beneficiary of the entity that was summoned here today. You see how you clarify? They can't twist your word. You can't say, I'm here on this matter. There's no clarity. There's no definitive description. The beauty is when you say, I'm here in regards as administrator or beneficiary of the named trust that's been summoned here today, then you're being a little bit more detailed in your description. And the court record hears that, and that's what you want. It's what you say on the court record. You want that to bite them back in the butt. But what they're going to do is they're going to come harder at you and go, because they know your game plan. They go, oh, no, it's one of these again. Okay, no. If you don't behave yourself, I'll hold you in contempt of court. Really? And you just have fun with it. So, well, that means you'll be sharing a cell with me because you're perverting the course of justice. Isn't that so? You just have fun with it. You don't create harm. The idea in a court is not to create controversy. If you go, I plead not guilty, you're already guilty because you pleaded not guilty, you're guilty. You can't be the name. Yes. You've got to stay away from that, and you make it very clear on the court record that you are the beneficiary and my name is Michael. I'm a sui juris man and I'd like you to call me Michael. Okay, Mr. Michael. Objection. I'm not Mr. Michael, and I made it clear for the record. This is the second time now. I'm Michael, and you're only referred to me as Michael, please. Thank you very much. See, you're not creating controversy. You're correcting the record. You got to correct them. Every time they open their mouth, it's a lie. Correct it. Don't let it slide and sit there and listen and let them talk. Because what goes on the record stays on the record, and if you don't object it, it's their facts, not presumptions anymore. Yeah. But you know this.
Yeah, look, being in that environment, it can be very challenging because it is very intimidating. And from a young age, we're taught to feel very powerless and intimidated with these authority figures. When you indicate that you're aware of what's going on, they will try and throw curveballs at you. And you have to be on your A game to be aware of that and not allow joinder to the legal fiction. So it's really important that people practice before they get themselves in that situation. Firstly, to not allow themselves to fall victim to the intimidation and emotional heightenedness, because that will cut off your logic. But also to be very aware of their tactics and the tricks that they use to try and joinder you and address that immediately when it's attempted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will pay everybody to go into a courtroom. Instead of going to the movies, go to a court and sit and listen. It's really entertaining. Really entertaining. You hear all sorts of cases and things and you think, wow, but you do, if you go often enough and you pay attention enough, you do pick up. And it's what you don't see, it's what you hear. And there's a lot of that's a big problem with men and women in this country. They like to talk. They don't like to listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth. They don't listen enough. And they don't pay attention enough. They rather just look at phones or watch TV. They don't read. If they just read more and stop with the visual crap and pick up a book and read it, they will learn a lot. It's because it's language. You're learning language. Pick up an act. Any act. Read the definitions. You'll be shocked. The word crown, the word in definitions, has 150 different definitions. If you go through all the acts, there's 150 different definitions of crown. Persons is another word. Look up persons. There's private persons or persons, and then there's persons of independent persons. I mean, they all have different meaning. So the trick is, whatever court summons you have, whatever charges have been laid against you, refer to the act that they're reliant on to stitch you up on, and go to the definitions first so you understand. Then pick the hell out of their language, because they're wrong. A lot of their paperwork, it's spelt wrong. The names are spelt wrong. The details in there is wrong. The biggest mistake they ever did, and no one picks it up, is you're entitled to have access to the brief of evidence by the prosecutor. No one ever asked for it. How can you plead guilty if you haven't seen the evidence?
Yeah.
Why plead guilty? The brief of evidence was never supplied to you to make a judgment call like that. So, but when you do ask for the brief of evidence, I can't plead anything. I haven't seen the brief of evidence. And the judge will say, well, prosecutor, are you able to supply the brief of evidence for him to look? And they may want to take you into another room. Then you correct them and you say, I would only like the facts to be supplied to me. They got none. Because whose name did they summon to the court?
The legal fiction.
So there's no facts on me. I can leave, but never leave a courtroom when the court judge says, go, you can leave here. If you have no business with this court, you can leave. Don't leave the courtroom. Make it on the record. As the administrator and beneficiary in this matter, I'll sit up the back room there and I'll be watching you. And I heard one judge says, I don't understand what you mean by that. And then he went ahead with the trial in the absence, which is ex parte. He committed a crime because he couldn't transfer his guilt of being impersonating a public officer. He's perverting the course of justice sitting in that bench. He had to transfer that guilt onto someone and he couldn't do it to you. Yet, in the absence, he's going ahead with the trial because he has to transfer the guilt somewhere on the hope that you fall victim to his little scheme or scam. Just don't fall for it. Everything they do is rubbish.
Yeah. So every single court is based on all this fraud, or are there actually secret courtrooms that aren't?
We don't have one court in this country, and that includes Supreme and High Court. Not one is under the Crown of England. And the fact they're not under the Crown of England means they are quorum non-judice, C-O-R-A-M. They're quorum. They're administrative arbitrator. They're not courts. They're not judges. They're just titles they gave themselves to fraudulently make us believe that they are legit. They're not. I heard two judges when I was in court, one of the times I've been in court, where his authority to sit at the bench was challenged. And both of them like a script, because they all have conferences, right? They all share experiences, and then they work out how to work around that shit, right? Because you and I and people like us, we're giving them hell in the courts. And he said, well, they both said, one was female, one was male, and they said, I can assure you I was properly appointed on the bench by the state government. Well, if you read the Constitution, he's committed fraud. He's perverting the course of justice. He's personating a Commonwealth officer because there has to be a separation of power of the courts. The courts are higher authority than our parliament or our government. But they're employed by the government. The prosecutor's employed by the government. The witnesses are employed by the government. The sheriffs are employed by the... Hang on. Am I alone here or what? And that's exactly what we are. We're a bloody loan. The court record's the only thing that's going to save your butt. It doesn't matter what they think and say. They're going to throw all those threats and enforcements. But if you don't get it on the record, there is no record. You're a slave.
So what do you think is going to happen? Because more and more people are waking up to this and challenging the courts and the system. Do you think eventually it's just going to dissolve, or there's going to be like a society where people who have no clue are going to just continue going, and those who have an idea are just going to go and continue to play the game and, you know, be kind of let off? Like, what do you think's going to happen? Like, what do you see?
Well, short term, peaceful rebellion, create economic loss. And I think if you're the smallest part you can do, even if you're fearful and you feel threatened or whatever, and you don't want to put yourself at risk or your family at risk or whatever, unlike we do, then do BOE, do bills of exchange on everything. If we can get 10 million Australians to discharge their bills with bills of exchange, that's peaceful rebellion. Because that would virtually, especially with fines and stuff, that would shut down state revenue officers. There's no existence for them anymore, because the BOE is what actually discharges the debt. It shouldn't need to come out of your pocket. If they just did that and pushed it and kept to it, we grow strong. The other option is human history, physical rebellion. When the king is such a big a-hole, what did the peasants do when they got nothing left?
They throw them out.
Band together as one, just like our constitution. We're indissoluble. We go and march to the castle after the king. The king throws his soldiers in between. We take out those soldiers. We still go to the king. When we grab the king, head off. It's history. It gets to look recently, the Berlin Wall, when it came down. Did you know on the east side, the Eastern police were ordered to shoot the people on the wall, pulling the wall apart? You know what those young officers did? They shot their supervisors because they wanted to be just as free as the people. Now, it's the only reason the wall came down is because the junior officers shot their bosses who were ordering them to shoot the people. And that's what we need in this country. We need the police to stand up, be men, be righteous, protect us. That's their job. Not be the security service for these a-holes causing all this harm, damage, mass murder, and genocide. And if the police stand up, and then the authorities have no protection anymore. And we can all do that. The Crimes Act 1914 says that. Section 13, we, the Commonwealth, have the superior jurisdiction above all. That's including public servants, police, everybody. Section 8 says you can civil arrest a public servant when they're committing offences against the Commonwealth. Well, that's every cop, every politician, every doctor who's suggesting me be the jab. It's this whole range of things, right? And Section 24 is treason, because they're foreign agents working for a foreign body, pretending to be our people, representing us, when we know clearly by their own actions they're not representing anyone but themselves and their high lord makers in the United Nations. So they're the two. It's pretty graphic. Ex-military, I know the quick answer. It'll be fixed, nipped in the butt.
When all the tyranny was occurring, I started to look into the Magna Carta, because there is a clause in the Magna Carta which allows you to essentially remove leadership that is becoming tyrannical or have overstepped their powers. And you mentioned that you also have some information on the Magna Carta as well. So, and that's still applicable to this.
Yeah. There is a chat in LIP that's dedicated to Magna Carta, because everyone has a different interest. Some people are just interested in Magna Carta, other people are interested in law. Then there's those individuals who need to sort out their private affairs, their bills, and the tax office sending them a $30,000 tax bill or a $250,000. They want to know how to handle it, how not to pay it, and that sort of stuff. So everyone has their own self-interest, I guess. Yeah. And that's where LIP is great, because in each chat there are people with a specific skill set with that subject interest, helping others navigate through that subject. So it's worked brilliantly.
Yeah. Right now, with people who are in our positions, What do you think the most effective way is to live in this society, which is obviously fraudulent? Is it to kind of completely remove yourself from the system, or to kind of learn how best to navigate through the system? What do you recommend? What have you found in your experience?
It's a good question. I don't know if I've got a short answer for that, but people must realise trust law. Everything is trust law. You can't go to common law. You can't go to the Constitution, because the authorities, as we know, ignore it and they don't let you use it. But you can use their laws. Their laws are flawed to buggery. So you can use their own laws against them. And one judge said to me, if you want to beat them, use their laws against them, because it's the only way it's going to happen. And if you got enough people doing it, peaceful rebellion. And you will kill them, because the more people actively doing this, standing their ground and their rights, it's a example. You're setting an example to your kids and your neighbours and other family members. And if they see your success and what you're doing, and if it's been simplified, which is what I've been trying to do, is simplify things so you don't have to learn law and stuff, right? Then they're going to want to do it. I mean, who wants to pay a bill? If they see you not, oh, well, I do a BOE and it disappears. What? What's a BOE? And you show them what you're doing. Now, well, I'm going to do that too. So they do it. And then everyone else around them does it. It's like a virus. It spreads very quickly. The law's on your side. That's the beauty of it. I'm not breaking the law. But when you're talking about living in the private, you can't live in the private without having a public entity. And if you've got a lot of groups out there charging $3-4 grand, some will charge them $5 grand to get you out of the private out of the public into the private. And I look at these documents and think, what the hell's this stuff? Yeah. The courts don't recognise that crap. You might be lucky, maybe 1 or 2 get through using it, but the 10 don't, because you can't. How do you separate yourself from the straw man? Because they only see straw men and women running around. That's it. They don't see anything else. Unless you provide prima facie evidence that you are a sui juris man or woman, you're a straw man as far as they're concerned. They'll just tell you, sit down, be quiet. I'm going to ask the prosecution now to present what you got, and we'll get back to you in a minute. When they talk like that, you got to have your wits with you, because you don't know. They're not going to tell you, oh, bugger, I couldn't join you to the name, so yeah, you're going to be free. They're not going to tell you. They're going to tell you nothing. If you manage to pay your fine off with a bill OE and you did your back and forth rebuttals and things, they're not going to send you a letter and say, oh, you beat us. You found us out. Congratulations. Your fine goes away. They're not going to say that. They're just going to say, your bill's been withdrawn. Right? They're not going to give you the tips or hints or where you got it, where you found the magic ingredient that made the whole thing go away. They're not going to give you that opportunity, because there are not. 9 times out of 10 cases that we do are settled out of court. And you have to sign a confidentiality agreement. So you can't share that information. This is how they shut us up. So it's not shared and spread. That one court case that goes into court case can still be won, but it might be a precedent where they're pretty confident they got you nailed, right? So you don't always give up all your information at once. You keep things put aside, and you only pull them out when you need to.
Yeah.
But you look at the recent trespass one with Sanchia. Here's a woman, a single mother, who lives off grid, got barely anything luxury, and she went to the Supreme Court because a cop put his foot on her property. And he refused to remove it when she warned him 3 times, "You're trespassing, remove your foot." Well, most people don't realise not even the king or queen can step on your land without your consent. So a cop certainly can't, a sheriff can't, a bailiff can't, council can't. It's your land. The Constitution granted us, the Queen granted us at the time, to self-govern. So we're the crown. We're the sovereign. We're the people with superior jurisdiction. We create the parliament. The parliament didn't create us, doesn't rule over us. We rule over it. Right? And with the land came the land ownership. And Australia is unique in the sense, when you look at all the other Commonwealth countries, the Queen said you can self-govern, but so the nation prospers, because she doesn't want her people, her subjects to, fall foul. She said all landowners and future landowners will be proprietors in fee simple. And that means we're all landlords. We all heard of the House of Lords in England, part of the government. That's what we are. Landlords are part of the government. We control the land, not them. So when they come on our land and say, "Oh, we want to do this," or "We want to evict it," piss off. You've got no authority here. I've got a contract with the Queen that it's my land. I am king on my own land. This is my own realm, right? I'm not getting into the First Peoples Nation custodian and all that. I understand all that stuff, but I'm just talking about Commonwealth Constitution, Crown stuff, right? So whether it's right or wrong that white man should come on here and buy up land that they didn't own and all that, that's another topic for another day.
Yes. Yeah.
We use the tools we've got. We
Exactly.
use the tools we have available to us to nip this rubbish in a butt. And the more people that wake up, and the faster they wake up to realise that they are the king on this land mass, whether you're First Nation or you're from convicts, it doesn't make any difference. In equity, as living entities, men and women, we hold the highest jurisdiction on this land. And GovCorp know this. They only see straw men, the ones they created. But if you walk in with a document, with a notary seal on it, saying that you're a living man, they can't do a damn thing. They can't touch you because they do recognise that. Better than the royal seal. Remember, they squashed the Queen's seal. They made their own. So they're functioning under their bullshit stuff. But if you go in with a notary seal, a notary from the Archbishop of Canterbury, the same dude that crowns a man and makes him king, we're not Commonwealth subjects. We're Commonwealth nationals. We self-govern. That makes us the crown.
Yes.
I can't get any simpler than that. That's the beauty of Royal Registry De Jure. That's why we brought back what used to exist up to 1970. The Queen's Registry Office, the old farts like me, even older than me, remember these registry offices. They were the only places you could go to register, was the Queen's Registry Office. GovCorp took over, closed them, and replaced them with the Roads Traffic Authority and the Maritime Services Board and a few other registry bullshit ones that they created. And now what they're doing is they've evolved that again now. They've merged everything together, and now they call them Services New South Wales.
Yeah. Which is all
see how everything evolves? But they do it over decades because old farts like me should be dead now had we taken the jab. So our knowledge and experience is gone, finished. They can rewrite history books.
Wow.
Because there's no one like me standing up saying, "Hey, you got it wrong. That's not how it works. That's not what was true." It's like income tax. There's a whole subject. There's tons. We could go on for 10 hours here.
So when you said you brought that back,
Yep.
how did you do that? Like, have you opened an office?
We have an office in Wood End, Victoria. It's a legitimate Royal Registry office. It's contrary to what some people think.
Mm.
And the reason it's legitimate is because if they read the preamble of the Constitution 1901, we're the government, we're the Commonwealth, we're not strawmen. And if the King's not here to open an office again, we open it and we operate it for the King until the King comes and says, oh, I'm taking that business over. We have to give it to him because it's his. We're running it for him. It's a business. It's the King's business. But what it is it's a records office. So what we're doing now is we've gone to the next, we've stepped forward now, and what we're doing is land titles. So we're going in and we're transferring land titles from the GovCorp registry, and we're bringing them over to the Royal Registry, and that's where your land title will sit. And if they don't give it to us, then we go to Supreme and we sue them and we order them. They come up with all sorts of excuses, like they destroyed them or whatever. I got mine recently, a copy of my certificate of title, and it's got a big cancel stamp on it. Well, they just defaced my property. So that's actually grounds to sue. Wow. Trespass of property. They damaged my property. So they have to produce a brand new one to replace it. It's not uncommon. It was done thousands of times before. Whenever there was a certificate of title question and they couldn't find it, it was a quick visit into the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court orders Land and Title Office to produce a brand new one. It's not a big court, not a big deal. Right? The point is, it comes to us. It comes to the Royal Registry. It doesn't stay with Land and Title Office. That's your straw man. We sell the title. You have to sell the property over to your living entity. So for 100 ounces of silver, the straw man sells you the property back to the living man, and then it stays with the Royal Registry. What they think they've got, it's got nothing. It's rubbish. Yeah. It's the same with your car.
Yeah. Do you do car registrations and certificates?
I'm just in the middle of doing that. Hopefully by the end of the week we can do it. Yeah. So that's another process. We understand how that works. We're using UCC. It's all UCC maritime law in this country. There is no common law, no constitution. No. So we're using the law. All they've done is monopolized commerce. This is what GovCorp's done. Monopolized commerce. Everything is run by government. And I get people saying to me, oh, no, that can't be true. We got competition insurance, competition with banks, competition with, God knows, water board, power, all that, phones, all that. Really? How do you figure that? What legislation do they operate under? The same. And who wrote that legislation? Government. So they're agents. If they're agents, they're public servants. Where's the competition? And that's as simple as that it is. Royal Registry is not competition to GovCorp. GovCorp operate in every avenue, from local to state to federal. All operate under the registered company in America. They're corporations. We're probably the only office that can claim we're actually Commonwealth of Australia.
Wow.
We're people office. We're office that registers living men and women. There is no straw man there. But because we're registered as living men and women with a notary seal confirming we are a living man and woman, which brings back to the age of majority, doesn't it? We're not lost cargo at sea anymore. What does the SQV Trust say when, hey, I'm back, I'm not lost, I'm living? What can you do? What does the SQV Trust say you can do? You can claim back everything that's in your straw man name, including every payment, repayment with interest, or interest that you've paid is now totally refunded.
And with your office, can people contact you online? How can people reach out? Because I'm sure many people would want to utilize your services.
We have a website, www.royalregistrydejure.com. It's got all the information on there. It's got an application checklist that you can download and fill out. In a nutshell, how it works is currently we're all straw men, whether we like it or not. And when we go into courts and stuff and we make these claims that I'm the living man and all that, yeah, you are. But they can't see living people. They only see dead people, right? Because you're living in the world of corpse. So what we do is we're getting you off the slave ship, GovCorp. We're bringing you back on the land and you register there as a living man or woman with the protection of the Crown of England. You're not registering as a slave with GovCorp and then going to have to register as a slave. It doesn't work that way because the king is a man. The king is a man. You can't be a slave to another man. Even though he's a king, he's still a man. Yeah. We're all God's creatures. We all live in equity. We live in the spirit on the land, just like the First Nation people do. They are the spirit. They're the custodians of the land. They don't own the land. They might reap food and sustenance from the land, but they don't abuse it like our GovCorp corporations when they go digging these big mines and stripping the rich fauna for some polluting bloody industry that they're putting in there. You understand? So we're going in with Royal Registry. We're going onto the land. The problem is GovCorp ship is 2024, the year 2024. When you come to the Royal Registry, the King's Standard is an operations. It's like an operations guide, how we have to run his business, and we can't do it any other way. We have to do it to the letter. We're going back to 1901, and then we start again from 1901 under the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution. And that's how you bring the Constitution back. The more people that register, we have power. Because of the House of Lords in England is established with 100 landowners. 100, must be 100. There's a reason for that. Because once you've established 100 landowners, you now can create your own courts. You can employ your own police. You enforce the Constitution, 1901. You don't, and you ignore everything that GovCorp had. It doesn't apply to you. You're out. You're immune. That's it. Finished. Gone. If they say you sped over 10 Ks and spending, good luck with that. Oh, we're going to fine you and we're going to send you to court. You wish. That's about as simple as it gets. Because with your certificate, your proof of prima facie that you are a living man or woman, you can walk into any court and you can just shove it in the face of them and say, bugger off. If you continue to interfere with me, I'll sue your bloody ass. And you can say that to a judge because he's nobody to you. He has no jurisdiction. And it's important you understand that. Jurisdiction. We get a few million people registered. It abolishes, you can shut down state revenue because they will no longer exist. Councils will stop sending rate notices out because they get paid whether you pay them or not. Did you know that? They all get paid. Those bills all get paid whether you pay them out of your pocket or not. They're all done. They're all discharged.
They're double dipping.
They're doing more than that. If we're all been taught from a very young age, when you pay a bill, you keep the bill as your receipt, right?
Mm.
What they taught you to do is to go into default. When you're in default with that bill, they now make a claim to your SQV trust. They didn't return the bill. They didn't authorise us to draw down, so we're reporting a default. So they get issued another bill. While that's happening, they're running you through court, forcing you to pay something you never had to pay in the first place, right? As the straw man you do, if you consent, yeah, you pay it. You can't argue. But if you go and present yourself as, well, that's not my name. That's the name you summon here. That ain't me. So I'm not got no obligation to pay someone else's bill. That's like you, Dee. Do I have a legal obligation to pay your bills just because you say you have to pay it? That's exactly what they do. That's the whole system. That's through threat and enforcement, demanding money with menace. They're all trespass crimes. But then once you paid, so say that argument you did pay because you wanted to go away and you were stressed and living in fear of your life, there's 2 bites they got. Now they get 3. That bill doesn't last more than 3 days in their office when they get it. What they do is securitize it. When they securitize it, it becomes a bond. That bond is sold into the open market to be traded as an unsecured mutual fund. Someone bought that bill probably multiple times its value, right? And trading it right now on the stock exchange probably for the next 75 years, making millions of dollars off that one bill. I know it's hard to believe, but that's how it works.
Wow.
Under law, their BS law on the land, their maritime law on our land makes it very clear. If the bill is discharged in any shape or form, whether it was paid by a third party or not, that bill is paid. You don't have to pay a damn thing. They don't tell you that either, do they?
No.
That's our whole economy. That's how our whole system works. And it's not just our country. It's every Commonwealth country in this land. Because we're the first to fall. If we fall, these a-holes in the United Nations have full control over everybody's lives. You will never, ever be allowed to think how you want to think. You'll never be able to talk to who you want to talk. They will destroy everything. I lived in East Germany for 3 months when I was 12. I tell you, for a 12-year-old, it was a real wake-up call how they lived over there. And I can guarantee you no one here is going to living that way. And it will be worse because it'll go to China. They're using China as the test model. What they're doing over there is what they plan to do with us here. That's worse.
Yeah. Well, I have faith and hope that enough people are fighting back. More and more are waking up, because of what you're doing. And, I've been speaking up about this stuff as well. So we just got to keep at it, keep raising awareness and giving people the tools to empower themselves. So, yeah. When you're dealing with councils and ATO and these government bodies, often the people that you're dealing with have no idea what you're talking about. At what point up the chain are people aware of what's going on? Is it just like the Prime Minister? Is it the CEOs, or do they not even have a clue? Like, what do you
know. They all know because they're part of the system.
Okay.
If you're a manager of a department, you know. The way GovCorp, you got to give credit to the GovCorp people, and the Rothschilds and all them. They really had hundreds of years to perfect this system, right? But it's not a system you can just implement overnight. It had to be through generational change, because without the older generation being allowed to educate and discipline the younger generation, and that's what they did. They took the power away from the parents to discipline the child. The government instruct the parents how to raise the child. You're not allowed to raise the child any other way except how the government says. Otherwise, they bring, the child services and shit, and they interfere in your life. This is how the game is played. And they've had hundreds of years to do this. And they're really close to having us lock, stock, and barrel. They just have to remove people like you and me now, which is what they're doing now, because I heard the Australian Federal Police Commissioner talking some nonsense in a public news report that they're going to add more resources and money towards the sovereign people, the sovereign citizens. And so they're making us target because they have to remove us, because we're educating people they don't like. They don't like us calling out the truth or the facts. So they're making us now a focus of it, because once we're removed, it's lost. Everything's lost. That's how scary we live in. We're in a war. This is a war like war of the minds, if you want to call it. It's a spiritual war. That's what it is. People need to realize who they are. I mean, at the end of the day, empathy has to be important. Common sense, rational thinking. For God's sake, people. Start using your bloody brain. Ask questions. Stop accepting anything they say to you is God's law. It's nothing. It's bull. When a man or woman tells you to do something, the first thing I do is, who the hell are you? I'm not your slave. I'm not your employee. Bugger off. If I haven't committed a crime, if I haven't hurt another man or woman, what the hell are you talking to me for? Leave me alone. I'm driving my car along the Commonwealth Road. It's not their bloody road. It's my bloody road. Minding my own business, enjoying transporting myself and my private property, and some moron pulls you over and starts with all their ridiculous questions and innuendos and what. People, start using your brain. For God's sake, stand up for yourself. Save your kids from these lunatics, because that's what it is. The lunatics are in charge of the asylum. There's no other way to describe it.
And if we do nothing about it, we are essentially enabling a very scary future for our future generations.
There's a lot of old men in this. Old men. There's a few young ones coming up, and credit to the women, because you only have to see a protest. There's a hell of a lot of women supporting and doing the right thing. I'm just asking, where the bloody men? Are they all dead? They all went to war and got died off, you know? And what? Left with the transvestites or something like that, you know? People who won't stand up for anybody, who believe in men can go into girls' toilets and stuff like that. Who wants to live in a bloody world like that, for God's sake? Come on, common sense. Use the brain. There's nothing wrong in being a female or woman. There's nothing wrong in being a man. There's nothing wrong with a man thinking the way he does. There's nothing wrong with a woman thinking. Why do we always have to argue between ourselves when the real crime is these bastards who keep claiming they're representing us and calling and creating bills and legislation and laws for dead entities? Because we as living entities aren't getting any of the benefits. I certainly don't feel any benefit from being a living man in the bloody world they created.
The attack on masculinity has been very well thought out, and from what I'm witnessing is, yes, a lot of men are demasculated physiologically with testosterone because of the food, the chemicals, whatnot. Mentally, psychologically, you know, what do men do these days? Majority of them are at the pub drinking their beers, you know, they're at the pokies, they're out at clubs, you know, so
they're not even interested in women half the time. What's the benefit in a man finding a woman, you know, to be married to them, to make them to wife them up, to have children so they have a legacy that can be passed on. The quality, where's the quality? In some countries overseas, those females are wifey material because they live and breathe for their man. And the man loves it because all he wants to do is protect, honor his family, raise his family. But what do we got? It's and this is GovCorp's fault. It's got no one's fault but the causes that these corporations have been funding behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter and all them other people, you know, those other groups. They're being funded to preach this nonsense. So media make it out to be, oh, well, that must be legit. They're out there doing that and they're really hurt and they're feeling pain or something. So they must be, you know, it must be something that we have to allow them to have. What a crock. I mean, World War I, we had 16-year-olds pretending to be 18-year-olds so they could enlist and go to war. You look at a 16-year-old today and you think, oh, my God. It's only the old men going to be left fighting.
It is very concerning.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
As a veteran, and the reasons I joined the Navy was because of my experience in East Germany, because it was the Cold War then, see? I learned through the Cold War that bads and whether now I realise it was all a scam. But at that time, I didn't want my family and my future and my family, my wife and kids' future to live like I did in East Germany. And look where we are today. What the hell happened? In my day, if someone stepped out of line, thump. Never happened again. Done. Didn't call the police. We dealt with it. You know, the boys did. and they dealt with it. Nowadays, you can't even touch somebody. Oh, carry on. And you're in jail before they are. And they're the ones that committed a crime against you. But God forbid, if you report it, you're in jail with him. You shouldn't have touched him. You should have called the police, or you shouldn't have chased after him down the street because he stole your stuff and you're trying to catch him to get your stuff back. Oh, no, you can't do that. You have to just get a description of him, report it to the police, and we'll go around and try and find it. I didn't ask for police to help me.
The natural role of the man being the protector and provider is really has been lost in a lot of men these days, and then that then affects women because women can't do the feminine things if there's no man to provide and protect. So they're really cause a big ripple effect imbalance in society, and that's how you can really damage a society. But hopefully from all of this, the men are stepping back into their power. It's
a generational thing.
Yeah.
Because it really, fathers need to step back in and take the fatherly role and basically tell the wife to pull your head in. You have your role, I have mine, and that's where it has to go. And it has to start and has to be generational. So that son sees and learns how to be a man, how to protect his wife and his children, and how his daughter respects herself enough not to be the town bike. Yeah. And that has to start from the first generation on, so that 10 generations from now, you have family units that stay together and don't fall apart just because over one stupid argument. Or I'm not supporting fathers who beat their wives, and I'm not talking about them, so don't get me wrong on that one. But I'm talking about there are a lot of genuine men who aren't looking like Tom Cruises like me, right? We're average-looking blokes. We're not the most handsome around. We're the ones that find it more difficult to find a partner in life than the good-looking blokes. All the good-looking blokes get the whole stable. We get the dribs, you know? That's in reality, unfortunately, the way it is. Women need to step back a bit and not be so picky and choosy. Understand their true value, and it's not, anything other than being a wifey material, being loyal to a man that they want to spend the rest of their life with. He may not be the best looking guy around town, but I tell you what, he's probably the best bloke to be with, because you'll actually have a beautiful life together. And it is what a man and wife does, what a man and woman does together as a couple. And that is setting an example for the children that they're rearing. And that's how it's supposed to be. It used to be that way.
Yeah.
It used to be that way. Didn't have this 51% of marriages are split.
Yeah.
Never happened.
I do believe that they're really trying to damage the family unit, because then you have traumatized children who then are lost in society, and they can't be the backbone as well, like for the
exactly.
So yeah, that's a whole nother topic on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't even know how we got to that one.
Yeah,
maybe my big mouth.
No, it was good, very necessary, and also relevant, because if we get more men to do what you're doing.
It wasn't that long ago. If I was walking around and someone insulted my wife, I would stand in front of my wife to the perpetrator and say, I dare you to say it again. He wouldn't think twice about knocking him over. These days, the wife jumps in front. It's reverse role play. And that's the problem. If you want your man to be a man to protect you, stay out of it. Behind. Don't get in front. You're not protecting him. You're getting in the way. He can't defend his family and his wife and his kids if you're standing in front. You can't shield him. And if it's a man, if you're with a man that won't stand in front of you, you got a problem.
Yeah, very true.
Real big problem.
I think you need to add another section in your channel for teaching men how to be masculine and women.
I had a chat called meetups or hookups or something like that. And I didn't, it wasn't, hookup. It was to because during the COVID period, I had a lot of women asking me, do you have any single friends?
Oh.
They were lonely because they were stuck in their houses alone with no man. And I thought, oh, well, that's a good idea. I'll open the chat. You know how I got inundated with people. This is not an appropriate chat to be in lip. And I thought, what the hell are they talking about? I'm looking through the chat. If someone commented something about it, bugger me, I had to change it. So I called it Friends.
Oh, God.
That's how fickle it was.
I do feel like, what I've noticed anyway, there are a lot more women on this page than men are. Like, more men need to come up to our level.
Well, men are working, presumably. So they're working all day, don't have the time to actually jump on there, where the women tend to have more free time because they're either from home or most of the women on there, I would say, they don't hold a full-time job. So they got the extra time, whereas the men, especially these days, after COVID and all that, there's been a lot of businesses shut down because of it, a lot of harm and damage caused to business owners, a whole lot. They're all trying to find a job. The men are doing it tough because what used to be two income family is now only one. Then they got someone in the family who's sick because of you know what. So the other partner can't work. These public servants that could call themselves public servants are personally accountable for all the harm and damage they've done to every man and woman in this country, and I don't excuse any of it. There's none of this I'm only doing my job shit, bullshit, because in war, and that's exactly what it is, you don't take enemies. Get rid of that shit in life, and that's what they are, they're shit.
I had a really interesting a discussion or interaction with someone from the Australian Taxation Office. So I've been trying to actually get my superannuation money and put it into a self-managed super fund. And the ATO were kind of blocking it from progressing. So I rang them up, and I refused to pay tax after what's happened. I refused to fund these corrupt So we got talking, and I was just kind of playing the game for a bit. But then I got a bit fed up. And I was like, listen, I refuse to pay a cent to the people who are running this country, who have committed genocide and are responsible for the deaths of many, many people. I hung up from that conversation, and the next day I get an email saying they approved they've approved my self-managed super fund. Right. And the whole time he was like, we can't allow it unless you pay your tax. We can't allow it unless you get director's ID, right? And it just took me to bring up that subject of them committing genocide, and all of a sudden they approved it. And I just thought, that's really interesting.
They couldn't get you to consent. Everything's relying on consent, you know, and they push that hard. They will scare you or fear you into consenting to their terms, their contract. Don't accept the contract. No, thank you. I'm not interested in that contract unless it's on these terms and you add your own terms to it.
Yeah.
So
it's all
that's
bluff.
with everything.
It's all bluff.
It's all bluff. It's threat with enforcement. It's not even, they're lying to us. It's not even bluff. Their intent is to fool us, to enrich themselves by deceit. That's exactly what they're doing. Every part of our life is being judged by that. And then the sooner people wake up to that, the better. But you did right. See, that's how you talk. That's how you're doing. You just don't take. No, I won't accept it. Thank you. Whose name's on that? Whose name's on that account? Da da da. Yeah, well, that's my public trust. I'm the beneficiary of that. You do what I told. You're the trustee. Trustees don't think. They do, and they do what the beneficiary wants, or what's in the best interest of the beneficiary. And the beneficiary happens to be the living entity. So how do you become a living entity? Well, right now, with all my research and all my knowledge, experience with all the other groups now, the only way you can do that is through the Royal Registry, because now I've got the Crown. The Crown recognises living men and women's Commonwealth subjects. We are part of England. Whether people like it or not, we're England. I'm not a fan of King Charles either, but he is nothing to us. We're self-governed. He's only head of state. He's only a representative of the Crown. That's all he is. We're not. signing our life away and being his slave. That's not how it works. That's not how the Constitution works. Right? And the Constitution 1901, what is that? It's an operations manual. It's dictating the law to public servants. That's public servants have to follow that to the letter. It's got nothing to do with you and me as living men and women. It's not our law. It's their law that has to be forced on them by us, the Commonwealth, the self-governed, who elect representatives to do as they're told, not tell us what to do. Magna Carta, whatever people want to call, whatever groups they want to, dissect into, that's all good and well. It's worked brilliantly for Royal Registry because they created distraction. The authorities are focusing on them while we're in the background building.
And I always say there's always more than one way to skin a cat, but it's good that everyone's trying different methods and approaches because it keeps them busy and, oh no, we have to find something to rebut that or deal with that process. I welcome all approaches, all processes. I think they all serve a purpose and they all inundate them and overwhelm.
Well, whenever GovCorp send you something in the mail, and I'm talking about GovCorp agents as well, which is your power companies, your telcos, all that sort of stuff, right? They're going to take from the trust whether it comes out of your pocket or not. So why bother accommodating them out of your pocket? Just do a big Z on each page, cancel the whole page out. You write in there, you circle the capital named account name. You just circle in there, word mark entity, not a man or woman. And then you put at 45-degree angle, you just put in there refusal for cause, do not consent to contract, void ab initio, and then you autograph it. And then underneath, you put in there UCC 1-103, UCC 1-308. And then underneath that is the principal, equitable, beneficial, named estate trust title holder, not the trustee. That's how you finish a letter. Yeah. No rebuts, no notices. Every time they send you a fine, every time they send you a rate notice, cancel it. It's an offer to contract. If you get a court summons, if you get a bail summons, it's an offer to contract. And you always have the option not to contract with it. So you cancel. No, thank you. And you give it back. Don't hold it. Make a copy, of course, because you're going to need that if you go to court down the track, if they should summon you to court.
Yeah.
Then at least you go in there and you've got all the evidence on paper because everything's done on paper.
Yes.
Everything is paper. It's the name. Don't use your surname. It's not yours to use. Your given names are the estates. Your surname is the trust. Don't refer yourself to the surname. And whenever anyone refers you to it, you correct them. Don't accept it. That's your name. Always correct it. And it's a mind thing. You really got to reprogram your head and get around all this shit. But there are simple things you can do, and it makes life a lot easier because then you'd be surprised just how free you start to feel when you're walking around going, and is that an information privacy request that you're asking from me? Because they use the Privacy Act, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. If you ask them, if you ring up a telco about your account, the first thing they ask is, so we know you are who you are, saying, can you give us your full name, your address, and your birthday? Why? I'll just give you an account number. And then you throw the question back. Just throw the question back. And what's your name? Oh, Sally. Sally, what's your last name? Oh, we can't give you that. Well, I can't do business on the phone with you. And I'm like, maybe I should record this conversation. Oh, you can't record this conversation because if you record this conversation, then we can't help you. Well, then can you put all your concerns in writing to me so that my litigation department can handle it? You play the game and have fun.
So good.
You're in business. When you're in public, that's your public trust. Your public trust is your capital name. He can be seen by the dead, by them, but you are private. You have no business sharing anything. wasn't long ago when we didn't talk sex, politics, money, like how much you earn. There were some things you just did not talk about between friends or in social circles, because they were private. Now, all of a sudden, over a few generations, we have to give up our name when a cop comes to you, or a public servant, purported public servant comes to you and says, what's your full name, your address, and your birthday? Well, hang on, that's private. Why do I have to share that with you? Just the account number is enough for you. Give up our private information without even thinking about it these days. We've been pre-programmed to be suckers. Stop being a sucker.
A lot of people now who are aware of, the fraud and what's going on, they aren't getting birth certificates for their children or offspring.
Yeah, I know quite a few who refuse to get the birth certificate. We're doing a lot of marriages without the marriage certificate.
So is that something you can do
at
your... And what does that mean if they don't get a birth certificate within, the public system? They don't have an estate? The
moment you're of age to get your first job, you could be a 15-year-old getting a part-time job in cops.
Yeah.
The first thing they get you to fill out a form is tax file number.
Yes.
From that tax file number application, they go back to the records. If they don't find anything of a birth certificate, then they create the trust anyway.
Oh, okay.
The migrant who comes over to this country who has no birth certificate because they come from a bombed out country, they've got no proof. They have a SESQ trust because the citizenship certificate is the birth certificate.
That's a trust as well. And so when it comes to these people who don't have birth certificates, offsetting, bills and stuff like that, what happens there?
Well, they would have a straw man anyway, because that's the only way you can in this corporate world. That's the only way you can operate. Everyone has a straw man name. If you have a capital name, you're a straw man. That's how they see you. That's your public trust. When you're out in the public, that is your trust. You don't need to create another trust for a trust. You already have a public trust, the SESQ trust. You just have to learn how to operate it. Right? What you do need is a private trust, because you have to get everything in the straw man name, your cars, trailers, caravans, boats, your land, has to be transferred to the private trust, which is, in my case, Royal Registry, because the Royal Registry is creating a private trust for all new members, is a private trust using the family crest. You see how the Royals do it? The Royals have a family crest.
Yeah, that's right.
Their family crest, I have, word for word, the Royals private trust. It's 2 pages. I've read it about 10 times. I can't understand the shit language, because we're going back to 1800 language, English, real proper English language. It's just one big long sentence that goes for bloody 2 pages. But that's their private trust. Everything they own, cars, properties, everything, it's in that trust. Their public trust has nothing. You sue family, royal family, you're suing the straw man. The straw man has not one thing in asset. You and me, they sue us because we have a house or we have a car. We have everything in the straw man name. That's why we lose. That's why we lose our cars. That's why we get foreclosed on. That's why we get our money taken out of a bank account. That's why we get bank accounts closed, because not one thing is in our name in the private. So we have to create a private trust, protect it under the Crown. Then we move everything, it's the straw man's name, we move it all into our private name, so the straw man owns nothing. And that's it. Now you live free. They can post you a fine, return it to sender. That's it. That's how you answer. There's no more notices, no more BOEs if you don't want to. Of course, you tell the way the system is, you would bill of exchange a phone bill, because we all like our phones. We like to be able to ring when we're out in the bush. So we bill and exchange those. But if it's a traffic fine, well, they bill the straw man. They better go and find him because he has to pay it. I don't.
Yeah. And so through the Royal Registry, people can protect their assets in a private.
That's the purpose of it. It's a record of registry. 9/10 of the law, possession is to the holder of the property. Possession is 9/10 of the law, right?
Mm.
So what's that 1/10? Registration. You must have recorded somewhere that piece of property, it's yours, not someone else. It's not lost cargo. It's not property just sitting around for the next person to take. It's yours. You've got it recorded somewhere. It's your dog has to be recorded that it's yours, not somebody else's. Your car gets registered to prove that it's yours. If you have a car that's got no plates on it and you leave it in the public street, how long do you think that car will sit there? Some pickup truck will go along because they got these little computers in their trucks. And as they're passing the parked cars, bing, 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 they get a warning, go, oh, unregistered car. Why do you think they can take that away? No ownership.
That's right.
It's lost cargo. They can take it away, crush it, make money out of it. It doesn't belong to anyone because there's no registration. That's life. That's what we live in. That's why they do what they do to us. You know, you do your naughty boy with the car. Yeah, well, you know, we're going to confiscate your car and we're going to crush it, or we're going to put it in storage and we're going to bill you storage fees until you pay the fine and pay the storage fee, and then you can have it back. Because it was being registered to the government. The government own it.
Yes, through GovCorp.
Yeah.
So it's time everyone gets their affairs in order.
Yeah. And the Royal Registry offers an opportunity for mum and dad who know nothing. Just go get registered. Register your family crest. Put everything in that family crest under a private trust so your straw man owns nothing. Then they can't take your shit. The bank account's the problem. Well, not really, because the Royal Registry has its own private bank now.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. We have our own private bank. So you're buying, when we're not a bank, we're a bullion trader. So when you got to be careful of the language, as you know, Dee. You can't use GovCorp language, otherwise you're trapped in their world and they can get you. It's like income. There's a difference between donation and income, right? So with a bank, you deposit and withdraw. That's a commercial activity. When you're using or pronouncing a commercial activity, you're bound by their rules, their legislation, their BS crap, right? Yeah. But if you have fiat money and you need to move it out of the bank, which I recommend everyone do pretty bloody quick, use it to buy gold and silver with a bullion exchange. So you now have gold and silver in the bank, or not bank, in the vault, not cash. The moment you do that, you've gone from fiat banking laws, because, you know, they're money laundering and all that kind of crap they use, right? So they can't freeze your account and they can't pilfer your money because now you're got private property. Gold and silver is not currency, it's private property. Different jurisdiction. So the federal police come along and say, oh, we suspect that Joe Blow has been money laundering, and that vault company says, sorry, can't help you because it's private property. It falls under common law, under trespass. It's been tested already and it works.
Wow. So this private bank you've created and it's working already.
Now that's the beauty of it. I didn't create it. I got enough on my plate. I almost had a private bank in association with a bullion company, and they let me down. Their lawyers, who are bar members, said, no, can't happen. You can't do that. Boss basically blocked our bullion guy from doing it. What we have now is a group of people, very like-minded, very influential, very well off, who said, well, we've had enough of this GovCorp stuff. So we're going to create our own exchange, if you want to call it banking. And the beauty is there is no transaction records. And that's what you want. If there's no transaction records, GovCorp can't trace your money. They can't see where you're spending it with or doing anything like that. There is, I won't share that with you here because it's public. You have to be a member to know anymore. Plus, the Royal Registry has its own off-grid web, private community centre, has everything, communication tools, got like what we're doing right now. We don't use Zoom or any of that rubbish. You get given your own private email. You can conduct business. You can do your banking. You can do everything in it, and it can't be seen anywhere by GovCorp because it's totally encrypted and secret.
Wow, that's really cool. And how can people sign up to that or learn more about that?
Register.
Register. Okay.
You register, you get the benefits. If you don't register, you're a straw man. That's as simple as it is. I can't help you if you're a straw man. Even with all the help that I've been offering people all these years, it's coming to a stop. Because unless they're Royal Registry, unless they're Royal Register, and there is other registries coming on board, as you probably heard, but the beauty with Royal Registry is that it is Crown. So it's Commonwealth. I can't help everybody. It made me sick before Christmas. I have health issues, which I have to fix. So I need to free myself up more with what I'm doing. People need to start learning to help themselves. So I did create a website called lipforms.com. And if you want to know how to use bills of exchange and promissory notes, that website is dedicated to all that. And it takes you to the information you need to know. You can print information off that, so you can shove it up the nose of anybody who's challenging the bill of exchange. You can print it out and give it to them, say, please explain how you're immune from the law, or you don't have to follow the law. Show me where it says the law doesn't apply to you, all sorts of things. Believe me, you don't have to say much to get these people to turn around and actually start. And you're educating them too, because remember, if you can do it, so can they. And that's the key. Did you know you didn't have to put your hand in your pocket either? You're pushing back on me saying, you don't accept that method of payment, when the law says that's the only method of payment you can use. How else? And the Bills of Exchange Act states very clearly under Section 68, if they don't accept your bills of exchange or promissory note, they cancel. They cancel the account by default, which means there's no bill to pay anymore. That's it. It's done. I'm not making this stuff up. This is the law. I'm using their law. LIP have been doing it pretty hard. We've got 4,000 warriors in there doing what I've been talking about. And we are copping all the punishment for everybody else. It would be really nice if we had 400,000 people doing what we're doing, because that would make a huge difference. Make a huge difference. It could almost shut down state revenue, because there's no purpose for them existing at all. They're a collections agency. We got no contract with a collections agency. They force this shit on us. And by the fact that there's threat with enforcement, that's another word for extortion.
Yes.
Demanding money with menace, that's trespass. By just those actions alone, makes the bill, fines or whatever, null and void. Under law, it's null and void. You can't force someone to pay something. Yeah.
That's my goal, is to get as many people onto this. So
you and me together.
I love that you share the testimonials, because that gives people the reassurance that what they're doing, it works and they're right. I think a lot of the time we question ourselves because it's so engraved in our brain. We're like, is this really true what we're doing? Because we're going against the grain, and there's always that internal battle going on. So if we can unite and work together as you're doing already, you've created an amazing platform, have everything there for everyone, just whatever they need, they can easily find it. there's testimonials, there's people sharing their experience. It's such an empowering environment to encourage others to I guess challenge the fraud. And like you said, by doing so in large numbers, will crash this system
and that's all. It's the numbers game, really. It's you and I are on the same path. We might be tackling it a little bit different, but really the result is what we want. The same result at the end. We want to be at the same point, and that goes with every other group. All the other common law groups and all the other like your TASs and your Commonwealth custodians. You don't have to agree fully with everything that they're doing. But if they've united people together and the goal is to get rid of the corporation that's behaving badly and causing harm and damage to us all. I mean, it's the old expression, your enemy's enemy is your friend. And that's exactly what we've got to do. We have to, as groups, you don't have to agree with each other the path we've taken or the actions that we take. The point is, we're all in the same direction.
Yeah.
We should be supporting each other. Every group should be helping another group, not, we leave them alone because they're not really. This is how GovCorp have trained us mentally, psychologically, to keep divided. So long as we keep dividing ourselves, we got no strength. There's no numbers. There's no united numbers. And that's the problem. I don't agree with a lot of things, but that's me. You don't agree with some of the stuff that I say. Doesn't matter. The point is I'm getting the message out there. And if it helps every man and woman to enrich their own lives without any interference or to be enslaved by some man or woman in a uniform that thinks they got power over you, well, that we're doing our job if we educate the men and women to avoid that sort of nonsense, And that's what we're here for. We're ground roots. We're the infants. We're at infancy stage, but we've come too late. It's the grandmother giving birth. It's not the mother. And we need to go back to the mums. The mums are the wives in the household. The mums are the nurturers of the boys and girls growing up in that house. Their job is to do that so that the father can get out there, fight wars, protect the family, protect the kids, build an income, make a living, be free to build. And the wife is there to nurture, to make a home, so he has a safe environment to come home to, a peaceful environment to come home to, not someone who nags you to death every minute of the day. Blokes don't want to come home. Women need to understand it. They don't like it. They want peace. That's all men want, peace and a few other things. But I'm a man. I have needs. But that's not a big call. It's not a big ask.
Well, I hope your wife is listening. No, I'm just kidding.
Would you like to meet her?
Yeah, it'd be nice to meet
Diane,
her.
would you like to come round, please? Yeah.
She must be a superwoman if you're with her. She must be a top chick.
She's a bull cracker.
Oh, yeah.
She's confronted. She's had her fair share dealing with cops. Believe me.
Really?
I don't stand in front of her, by the way. She pushes me out of the way. Lucky I got no kids with her.
Nice to meet
Diane.
Hello,
Diane.
It's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Diane's very fond of you because when she started having an maker, her role as a wife is exactly what she does. Value to me, right? And I get benefit having this woman in my life. There's a lot of benefit. I couldn't live without her, basically, right? But we have our arguments. I mean, all couples do. But at the end of the day, that's what a family unit is supposed to be,
Yeah.
So
what's that saying? Behind every great man is an even better woman, or something like that.
I wouldn't say better woman, but yeah, there's a woman. There's a woman playing her role, supporting her family and her man, so that man is free to get on with fighting wars, hunting food gathering, you know, bringing home the money sort of thing, you know, so that she can live a life of luxury, you know. So that's my prerogative, and that's her job. But if
is he a good provider? Is he doing his job?
Yes. Yeah, no. We're good, Dee, because as I've always said to people, like, although Michael and I are on this journey together, his journey is not my journey and mine's not his. But however, we've got each other's back, like fully support each other. And I think that's where the strength comes from, and the understanding of each other, because yeah, we don't live in each other's pockets. I've got my life, he's got his.
We share everything, but it doesn't mean we can't. Like Di likes to go out socially. I'm not a social creature. I'm over people, to be honest. And I'm too busy to even find a few hours to go out even for a lunch date with my wife.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter where I go. I got the phone on. It's always doing. Not that I do it because I know the predicament this country's in. It's actually in really dire straits, and a lot of people don't realise this. You know, and even though I'm only contributing a very tiny little bit to the cause, if I stopped and just said, "The hell with you all, I'm going to go fishing like I've always wanted to do, just go fishing every day," then that little bit, that's a big hole that can't be filled anymore. By actually being educated. Every member in LIB is spreading the word to their family members. And it's not just 4,000 in LIB. It could be 400 when you look at, or 40,000 at least anyway, when you look out from the big picture. But even 40,000 is not enough. We need everyone to stop putting your hand in your pocket, paying these bills, and start using the bill of exchange, because that forces them to act lawfully and not allow them to conduct their business illegally.
Every Friday we have a lovely coffee group we go to on the river.
Friday mornings, and it's lovely. But all I do, I say to Michael, quickly eat your breakfast. It's the only time we get out together, and quickly eat your breakfast before they all arrive. We get there so early so that we manage to get through our breakfast there before people start turning up. Otherwise, once they turn up, that's it. I'm finished. It's
questions.
They bring their papers with them, and I've got to have one-on-one meetings. It's not a social event for me at all. But I love it. You know, I do like it. I don't think of you. Yeah.
Well, Michael, make sure you take care of yourself and balance things out, because we need you. We need you for the long run. You know.
That's what I'd keep telling him, G. We don't want you for the short term. We need you for the long haul.
All I ask, people stop ringing me after 7 at night.
Put your phone on airplane mode.
Yeah, I've been doing that now. I've been putting on silent and just ignoring. I've had to.
It's hard when the people don't realise, like, the daylight savings times, and then especially if they're ringing from Perth, they'll be ringing us at 10 o'clock at night. And you think, oh, hang on a minute, it's only 7 o'clock over there, but they don't realise we're in bed. So it's got to stop. For Michael's health, it has to stop. Like, I'm the one in the background who pumps him up with all the good vitamins and food and everything to keep him going.
No.
I like what you're doing, Dee. I've been watching. I've been following. Di loves listening to you talk, and she's watched your videos and stuff like that. And it never occurred to me that we would ever have a Zoom like this. You know, I don't ask for them. People just they offer, and I go, okay, I'll sit in. You know.
Yeah.
I don't go seeking that celebrity stuff. I'm not interested in that. Anyone who wants to stand up and be some sort of authority or something like that, I walk away, because no man can be an authority over another, and no one knows more than another.
Yeah.
We all have our skill set. We might be good at what we know, but that doesn't mean you know everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And the moment you shoot down someone who might offer a different opinion or a different thought about something, the moment, if you shoot someone down like that, then you've got no honour. You're disrespectful. Everyone has freedom of speech. We have freedom of thought. We're not GovCorp. We have to stop behaving like GovCorp want us to act. We need to be men and women, adults, not adult children.
Agreed. Yeah. We are all equal.
All equal. Yeah. Doesn't matter what sex or gender, what the hundreds of genders they've created, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're all equal. We're all men and women. We're not straw men. We're men and women. We live free. We are free. We have to start acting free. Otherwise, we'll lose all. If you don't know you have rights, you're going to lose.
I would probably have you on again to talk about
anytime.
Yeah, I'd really enjoyed this. I think it's been so helpful for me. And how can we make your life easier? Like, if I'm going to share all your links and stuff,
Appreciate that.
I just don't want to overburden you, overwhelm you. So, like, let us know what your boundaries are so we respect and honor that, and you can focus on your health.
Look, I don't have boundaries. I'm a sucker to help people.
Yeah.
I don't charge. So I'm not one of these that goes out and charges thousands of dollars for this. And I'm no one special. I just have a little bit more knowledge than some people. That's all. And if you want to tap into that knowledge, that's great. I'm more than happy to have a conversation. I'm more than happy to chat. I don't do anything for a fee. I've been told I should. I'm worth a lot of money by the hour, but that's not why I'm doing this. I have grandchildren. I have a daughter that's been damaged. I've got grandchildren who've been damaged by this corrupt entity. I have a purpose in life to ensure that when I meet my maker, that I've done some really good stuff. And if the one thing, all I ask anyone to do is, for God's sake, help yourself. Do the bill of exchange. Discharge your debts with a bill of exchange. Stop putting your hand in your pocket. If you stop putting your hand in your pocket, and we all did it, the whole thing crashes. Without firing one gun, the whole thing crashes. They don't get money out of you. They get nothing. They've got nothing. And then we walk in and we kick them out. You're sacked. Get out.
This is starving the beast, essentially.
It's the economic loss.
Yeah.
They can't afford us not to pay. And when people say, oh, well, we have to pay council rates because we got to get our garbage collected and stuff. What's stopping you having a contract with the garbage collectors to come around to your house and pick up the bin? Why do you have to go through a bloody council for that? In fact, it'd probably work out cheaper because now you don't have the council as the middleman putting his little cream on top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always a different look or a different picture that's been presented to you, and you've got to ask questions. If all they did was help themselves, you won't need to ring me or anybody else for help. Just do a BOE and stick by it. You're the law of the land. You, me, every man and woman in this country, we're the law. They got to understand we dictate what they can and can't do. We have to speak up and tell them, no, thank you. I'm not interested in what you've got to offer. Go away. Stop trespassing on me. Bugger off. That's all we've got to tell them. If we all did that, there would be no power. They have nothing. And it would actually prove to the sheep what we're doing actually has merit, because we're actioning, we're doing it, actioning it, and we got evidence that it's above board and it's law. It's the law, it's legal. And they'll start following. If they see it happen, they'll start following. But a lot of these groups are just waffle. This is it. This is what the straw man is. This is data. And it's repeat. But no one's actually physically putting it into.
Yeah.
Point. And those that do, and there's a few of us, you're one of them, the few that do it are denied recognition for it. Oh, you're just lucky. You know how to talk your way out of court or some nonsense like that. And I think, go back to bed. That's where the country benefits, when you're asleep, mate, not when you're awake. Add value. Be a man and woman. Go out in the world. Add value. Pass it on. Do a favour for somebody for free and say to them, pass it on to someone who could use your help. Pass it on. Yeah? That's all you got to do, is just be nice to someone else, and then ask them, can you be nice? Can you pass it on, the good gesture? Can you pass it on to someone else that in need? And help those. This country is so bloody rich. We shouldn't have homeless sleeping in the street. Medicare, there shouldn't be that young girl in hospital waiting for a lung transplant, and they got her on a machine because they refused to give her a lung transplant because she's not vaccinated. I mean, that's what the hell are we living in, for God's sake? If there's an illness of somebody, one of our men and women who are sick and they don't have the technology or the medical help, the government should be putting their hand in the pocket and sending them to a country where the treatment is. They're there for us. We're not their cattle and sheep that they can slaughter when it pleases them.
Yeah.
They're there to work for us. Their job is, as trustees, is to ensure that we get the benefit from their decisions. And if there's no benefit coming from those decisions, they should be sacked. And if they did it with intent to cause harm and damage to we the people, they shouldn't be breathing. That's my opinion.
When you realize and learn about all this, you start to see how everything is inverted and backwards. It's crazy.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. And you're so indoctrinated that you never actually saw that until you started learning.
That's the problem, isn't it, for us?
Yeah.
We're fully aware and we can't go back.
Yeah.
It's something in our psyche, in our human nature, if you want to call it that way, or in our genes, or whatever the case is. We can't go back to being the sheep anymore. It's abhorrent. You just can't do it. It's just something in your system is saying you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not right.
And I think that is why a lot of people like to stay in denial when they see our success, because they have to pretty much look in the mirror, question their whole life, their whole identity. And with the awareness, it's like, well, now what you're doing, there's no ignorance to it. You know what you're doing, you know what you're contributing to, and you have to change your ways. They don't want to do none of that. So they choose the easy, weak, pathetic way out and pretend that, you know, what we're doing is like, oh, it's all luck and it's all bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's a public servant you're talking about. They're all like that. They're all, I'm only doing my job. That's exactly what you just described. It's a public servant. And the problem we got in this country is half the population are public servants.
yes, that's right.
It was done by intent. The denial. Oh, no. You know, we got friends around. Well, they're not even friends anymore, but the people where we thought were super intelligent with university degrees and everything like that, I think they're the dumbest people on the planet. I've got no time for it. When I was in business and I had a network of officers around, I kept away from the university trained. I trained them myself. And they created a job for themselves and they ended up going into business for themselves. I nurture and educate. I don't take from university brainwashing stuff. You know, you can't train. I've dealt with lawyers. They say, yeah, I know about the Constitution. Which Constitution? They don't even know there's two of them. Interesting bit of history is these star chambers that are operating all our court systems, they were banned in 1641. So what they did was, to keep them alive, they just called them quorum. That's the modern name, but they're actually star chambers. They were banned in 1641. What the hell are they doing now? Why are they here? Lawyers. Get rid of all the lawyers, you'd be right. It's the people who actually create the law, not them.
How do you sustain yourself? Do you have donations for people to give to help you do your mission? Is there something we can help with?
No, I don't need help. I want people to help themselves. If they help themselves, start using bills of exchange, then they're helping me. I want nothing. I'm not asking for anything. I want them to get out there and just do bills of exchange. Lit will help you step by step how to get through the process. But the more people, if we had 400,000 people today doing bills of exchange on every bill that comes through their mailbox, I can assure you within a week, you're going to see some collapses in GovCourt. Because there's no way they got enough courts to run us through those places. And they know for a fact when there's 400,000 people doing it, they know they've been caught out with the bloody biggest fraud on the planet, because it's not only our country, it involves every country in this, except communism, of course. But even some communist countries still operate under the UCC. They still use the UCC because they have to trade with other countries. So they use the UCC to do it. But back in their own land, they're communists, you know, they're controlled. And we are very much controlled that way ourselves, because we're not men and women, we're straw. Help yourself. Do a BOE. Start with one account, work through it, nail it, make sure that every bill from that point on is a BOE, then start with the other accounts. And just one account at a time. We do have a testimonial chat in there called Winners and Grinners, and we are hitting goals. And that's only some of them. That's not a lot. We've done a lot. It's only a few that actually put the effort in there.
How is everything going with you physically? Do you need any help? You can reach out to me, because you know I'm a naturopath, if you needed some help with
an injury that I had in the military, which has been going on for 35 years now. I had 4 undiagnosed fractures in the spine for 6 years.
Oh my God.
And then on top of that, I have lung disease, which was caused again in the military. The bottom parts of my lung burnt from toxic fumes, diesel fumes actually. So my lungs have enlarged to compensate. I'm doing fine. I'm breathing fine. There's nothing to worry about there. I'm not on medication. My wife looks after all the natural stuff. So she's helping me with all the natural stuff. She makes sure I get all the good stuff. So no, I'm coping, you know. I'm not a young man anymore, so you know, you shit happens when you get older.
Diane's keeping you young.
No, I'm old. I'm a lot older than
she's older than me.
She looks much younger than you. Sorry.
Oh, thank you very much.
I like this
Diane's
girl.
actually 7 years old.
I'm 67.
Wow.
Yeah. I've got him on.
That's from
a
not
lot
drinking,
of
not
stuff.
smoking. This is how blokes can look, and this is how women look at their, because we don't smoke and drink. It's a good lesson.
No.
You guys should such a good example for, like, you know, future generational couples coming up. How, you know, teach us how to be youthful, how to, like, you know, be independent from the government.
Yeah.
You have to eat well. Don't eat packets or canned shit or jarred shit. Stay away from that crap. Just eat good food and don't eat all the time. There's a lot of people hurt, and it's disgusting the way our country is going. You know, just in New South Wales alone, I don't know if I mentioned this before, there's 5,000 court cases going through the courts in New South Wales alone. That's 5,000 a day. Can you imagine the revenue being collected for rubbish, for no reason, it's all designed to stitch people up because they're guilty until proven innocent. And that's the whole system designed. Can you imagine the revenue running through that place?
I'm looking after him, Dee. I've got him on all the good stuff, the cayenne pepper, and I have him on Celtic salt. I have him on all the good stuff.
I hope you take her out for dinner every now and then. Treat her.
Don't worry. Please,
very rare.
Don't do that. No, she gets out Friday mornings.
Mornings, yeah.
Do you feel he's rewarding you enough, Diane, or?
Be honest, Di. Don't be silly. Be honest.
No, he does. He does. It's a team effort. If I wasn't doing what I do for him in health and everything, looking after him, he would have crumbled. Yeah. I say that to a lot of people. He would have crumbled. I've had him go to bed with heart palpitations and stuff like that because the stress load's been so high. But I do keep him on the cayenne pepper and everything like that. But he gets a bit of arrhythmia in the heart.
That's the down point being in lit.
Yeah.
Because I hear all the cases.
Yeah.
I hear all the stress and the injuries, everything. And you know, you hear it often enough, and it does affect you in the mind, because some people find me late, you know, very late in the stage.
In the process.
Oh my God, you know, how do I help them get through that?
Yeah,
they're in desperate need for someone even just to talk to. Sometimes I can talk. I'll be on the phone with someone for 2 hours just to bring them down from
Yeah.
I'm everything to these people. I can't say go away.
No.
You know, if they contact me and they're talking to me and they really have no one else to talk to, and that's a lot of single women. Single women are, it's disturbing. And they got kids, they're rearing kids on their own, you know. And I think, and what they're going through at the time, some of it is self-inflicted, but not all of it. But they still need someone to talk to. Men, fathers who haven't seen their kids for 3 years because of some bullshit court. I mean, the desperation in their voices when you're talking to them. You know, after I get off the phone with them, I'm thinking, I hope he goes to bed or something and just sleeps, you know, and doesn't keep wind himself back up again and do some harm to himself or some bloody thing, you know. And I go to bed sometimes I can't even fall asleep. I've got the shit going in my head over and over and over. Did I say the right thing? Did I, you know, you have that worry that you might have said something wrong and it's triggered them to do something bad or whatever, you know. And
I think you're the last person to worry. I think you're the most harmless, gentle soul I've ever spoken to, really.
Oh, thank you.
A good man.
The wife says I'm loud.
You are.
You talk too loud. People can hear what you're saying.
Yes, but of course you're deaf. You're deaf from being in the Navy, from the guns. So
yeah, it's that too. But you know, even on the train, on the phone, if I'm talking, I don't give a shit if they hear me. I'm educating. If they want to listen in on my conversation, they're getting an education. So.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right, isn't it? You might actually convert one of them. He might like put his badge down, you know.
It's like in the courthouse, you know. If I get the sheriff harassing me and that, straight away my voice is whoo, right up there. Get away from me, you stop trespassing on me. I might look like a lunatic to some people, but I'm actually educating everyone who's listening what their rights are. Just copy what I do.
I always send somebody along. I stay home, but I always send somebody along with him to the courts, and I'm texting them all the time. So, has Michael been arrested yet? And they say to me, Diane, he not long handed me his wallet, his car keys, and his phone. And I went, oh no, it's getting close. So I never know what he's up to.
And are you stressed out as well from what he does, or?
Yeah, look, quietly I stress out because he's stressed out enough. But I also want the people too to have the respect for Michael. Like, he's only one man. So he's taking on these thousands of people, and he started his lip thing off with a couple of people, and he says, oh, I'll just see how this goes.
Well, I got 3 people. That's great.
I got 3 people die, and I went, oh, great.
I started doing a few Zooms, and all of a sudden it's running to 4. But we did have 2 times where I've had to actually, first time I actually had to shut Lip down and recreate it from scratch because it got so damaged with porn postings and all sorts of shit like that. I thought that's it, because it was public, you see. I was still learning how to use the bloody thing. So I had to start from scratch again, and now it's everything's secure and I've got it controlled. I've got 30 admins running that's keeping an eye on it, you know, and I've got very loyal people in Lip who live and breathe Lip. That's all they do. They can't. I had a couple people tell me it's very addictive. You can't get off it. If they can't afford to be banned, otherwise they'll be lost. I don't know what to do with themselves. So it teaches them to behave, you know, to be peaceful,
disciplined,
to respect other members' opinions and stuff. You don't have to agree with it, but you don't have to be public in there. If you've got an issue with somebody, there's a private message facility in Telegram. Have it out there. Don't put it in public Lip space. You know what I mean? Just use a bit of common sense, you know. That's the only rule. And everyone is a share. They each have an equal share in it. I don't know what's going to happen down the track. I might get someone who comes along and offers me millions for the bloody thing. Well, guess what? Every member in there gets equal share.
Wow.
I'm not in it to reward myself.
No.
I'm not in it for profit. I don't make profit. I created lipforms.com. There is free stuff in the bills of exchange. You can do everything free on it. But the moment you go to the promissory note, there is a donation asked for of $50. what most people don't realise is that $50 covers the legal costs. The legal costs to help them, because it takes the debt. The biller has to go to the Royal Registry De Jure to collect the money. Who sits in there? My mate Spiros.
The Spartan.
They have to go through him to get it.
They won't get nothing.
He knows bills of exchange better than anyone.
Yeah.
Because he's had 30,000 successes with bills of exchange. That's why we made the Royal De Jure. And that's for anybody. I relaunched People's Trust. If you're familiar with People's Trust, a few years ago, each state, we don't have them in each state anymore. We have a national. When you go into People's Trust, AUS for Australia.com, it takes you straight to the promissory note. You do the promissory note and then you issue it, because they have to go and collect from Victoria. So if it's a biller in WA, they have to fly to Victoria and collect. Under the bills of exchange, Friday, 9 o'clock. Friday, 9 o'clock every week, they go there to collect. If they're 1 minute late, they're in default. It's cancelled. There is nothing to pay anymore. The bill's finished, gone. That's what the bill exchange says. That's the law. That's our currency. Our currency is bills of exchange printing. It's the only way a bill can be discharged, because we can't pay it. It's impossible to pay a bill. We've got to stop saying paying the bill. It's the wrong language. They removed the pound sterling in 1966. We don't have our own currency. People got to understand that. If they say you have to pay, with what? Vietnam dong? What am I going to pay it with? I don't have. You took away my ability to pay anything. So I'm discharging the thing with a bill of exchange, which is UCC. It's under the UCC, under the bill of exchange. If you read the Australia Acts, you know, the acts that they're using to run this country, which have no validity, they also recognise the Bill of Exchange 1909. They know that is the currency here. So we're just using the system that they provided us to use, which means we don't have to put our hand in that pot. And that's it. So the Bill of Exchange is everything. You fix that. Remember too, as a Royal Registry, being Royal Registered, you're registered now as a living man and woman. You now have prima facie proof that you're the beneficiary. You're not the trustee. They can't argue that in court. So now when your bills come in, you have evidence you are the beneficiary. Evidence. You don't pay bills. Bills mean shit to you. They're nothing. I can wipe my bottom with it. That's about the value of it. It's toilet paper, right? Because they're going to take it from the trust regardless of whether you do something with it or not. So you put on the letter, the labels that I have created in LIP. That's all you got to do then is put a label on it and send it back. The Royal Registry is now my focus, because that's that and the bills of exchange. Those two things combined together mean that's free. You're free.
Yeah.
There's no more GovCorp bullshit in your life. You can wipe it clean. You can say bugger off with that crap. Not interested in it. Right? We also almost completed the procedure to follow with vehicle registration. So we'll have that up and running hopefully by the end of the week. Then there's land titles, getting all landowners getting their titles back. We've already proceeded in that avenue, and I'm the guinea pig. Well, the Di and I are actually the guinea pig, because we're going, if they don't give us our proper original land title, we're going into the Supreme Court. We know how the system works. We know how the land title works. We know the system. So we don't have to do the Rod Cullerton stuff. We don't need to do that stuff. We do it through their maritime law. It's very easy. Simple, actually. It's simpler than you think.
You have to let me know how you go with that.
The plan this year is to rather be office bound and doing all this stuff for one-on-ones. We're going to plan to do sort of road shows and things like that. Just go out to the public and promote the Royal Registry, so they have a better understanding of how it actually works and what their place is. Because there's a lot of misinformation being spread around, because certain individuals have a celebrity mindset, right? They got to belittle someone to actually promote themselves.
Yes.
I'm not into that shit.
No.
Yeah.
This is about the limit of what I do. If I'm invited to a Zoom, more than happy. I'll share what I know.